So when we get to the stream, we are about 15 to 20 minutes late, somewhere around there. We sit down our very first hand. We are in the cutoff position. And this is a 1-3 game. The under the gun folds, under the gun +1 folds. Middle position makes the flat call. The low jack folds, and the high jack decides that $3 is just not enough for him. He bumps it up to $15. And I look down at my hand, and I look down at pocket fours. Very first hand, pocket fours. Let's see if we can set mine. We go ahead and make the call for 15. The button decides that 15 is not quite enough. So he goes ahead and he 3-bets to $40. And when he 3-bets to $40, it folds back around to the middle position. The middle position makes another flat call back to back. And it goes to the the high jack position. He makes the call. Me sitting in the cutoff, knowing I have last action, getting 4-1, almost 5-1 with my 15 already out there. I decide to make the call and go for the set mine. We go for a flop. The flop comes 8-8-7, 2 hearts, and the table naturally checks around to the button who was the re-raiser. And the button surprisingly just checks. So we go to a turn. The 5 of diamond. Now, like I was saying, how the table naturally checked around to the big blind. So just the flow of the table, and I guess optimally that's what you're supposed to do, is check to the re-raiser. So the only person that had a true action in this hand was the button player. The other 3 people, including me, we just did what the natural flow of the game should have been, which was check to the re-raiser. And so now we get to see since it checked through and we got to a turn card, what the actual actions of the other 2 players that are out of position to me are. And the middle position checks, the hijack also checks, and with 2 8s, a 7, a 5, me having pocket 4, so I do have a gut shot straight here, and me just believing that the way the action of the game is going, I possibly have the best hand here. Or if not, I could, I honestly believe I might have the best hand here. I believe the guy to my right, who was the initial raiser pre-flop, has overcards. The fact that he just kept checking. And the re-raiser, I believe he's in the same position of overcards. I don't believe this board, of course, it doesn't hit their ranges with a raise and a re-raise, but I don't believe at this point that they're even sitting on an overpair. Now, the other guy that keeps flat calling, with the way the board's going, I believe I'm ahead of him too. I do think that he could have suited connectors, anything, any kind of suited connectors, Jack 10, you could have Jack Queen, King Queen, suited, anything like that, and he's just, I don't know. It was hard for me to put him on a hand, but just with the fact of him checking the flop and the turn, I felt like I was ahead of the whole table at this moment. Honestly, no bluff, but I do feel like if I'm not ahead of the table here, still a bet might be able to take something down, as long as someone doesn't have a set, a full house, a straight, and possibly an overpair. So I do elect to bet out for $80 here. And when I bet out for $80, the button thinks about it for a little while, and then he folds. Middle position surprises me and shoves all in. I do want to remind you, he's just been flat calling this whole time. So caught me way out there. Didn't know what just happened, but we go to the the hijack, and he folds back onto me. Pot being around $400-500. I only have $100 back, mind you. I did only start this hand with about 220. And like I said, I believe he could be doing this with now a flush draw still. Possibly. I could possibly be behind. I feel like at this point I'm pot committed. I still have a pocket pair that's under the board, but the board is paired. I still have a draw to a straight. I could fold here, but I'm getting 5-1, 6-1 at this moment. I have to make the call here, so I go ahead and I shove in my other $100, and we go to a run out. And we get a card that we were hoping for, but weren't too sure if we needed it. And it is the 6. So we do get the straight, the bottom end of the straight. And I tell him, hey, been straightened out. I flip it over. And as you all can see from the graphics, I was in really bad shape. He had pocket 10s. The River Monster came out and saved us today. We went ahead and scooped that pot.
His hand very well disguised.
Oh, man.
Still has 5 outs available, 3 6s and a couple 4s.
My first hand. I'm about to find out.
I mean, $100 buy-in.
You want a flush draw over there? Or you got something, man? You got an overpair?
You get 500.
Oh.
He does have
Straight
the
out.
overpair. Oh, does that mean the 6 hit the river? Oh, it did. It totally did hit the.
Next hand we're going to here. I am sitting in middle position, and there are calls all the way around to me. So once it gets to me, I look down at King Jack and decide, let's get a few folds. We bump it up to $20. I guess I could have went a little higher, maybe 30, but I did go a little bit of a raise for a 1-3 game. And little to my surprise, we get 6 callers. We only get a fold from the hijack and the low jack positions. The rest of the table decides to make the call. So we go to a flop. 9-5 deuce. All clubs. I am sitting with the jack of clubs in my hand. I have position on the whole table except for the button. And it checks to me. And in this position, I do believe I could have continued to fire a bet sitting with the jack of clubs, but we are sitting 7-handed to this flop. I do feel like the best thing for me to do is to go ahead and check it also. So I do make that check. The button checks. We go to a turn card. The turn card comes. What do you know? Another club. 8 of club on the turn. And once again, it checks to me. I make the check and the button checks. We go to a river, a red jack, a jack of hearts. So now I do make a pair of jacks that are completely irrelevant to this board. And the small blind checks. The big blind decides this is my time to stab at the pot, and he throws out a bet for $30. And The under the gun makes the call. At this time, I'm thinking once you get back to me, I'm going to make a raise, see if we can take down possibly a queen, maybe a king, since we are 7 ways to this. As long as I'm not up against an ace, I think I might be able to take it down with the re-raise. And nope, it doesn't get to that because the player right to before me decides $30 isn't enough, and he bumps it up to $200. It gets to me. I'm thinking, nope, I'm not thinking. I go ahead and I fold my hand. It folds all the way around back to the big blind. He folds, and the under the gun, he sits there and he thinks about it for a while. Not sure what he has at this moment, but he eventually makes the fold. And as you can see from the graphics, he had the hand on lock. Great raise. Next hand we're looking at here, I am under the gun. There is a $6 straddle on the button. The small blind makes the call for $6. The big blind folds. It gets to me. I look down at pocket fives. I do believe I could make a reason to just call here. But I do believe that at this time, and I felt like making a raise, trying to thin the field a little bit with the way things have been going, with the way calls have been being made, and we have been going, as you all seen, 7 ways to a flop. So I just go ahead right here, 4 times the pot, bump it up to, I believe, $23. We do get folds all the way around to the button, and the button, the original straddler, did decide to make the call, and the small blind elects to make the call. We go to a flop. Flop comes out 7-8-3 rainbow. The small blind checks to me, and when it gets to me, I elect to continuation bet for an additional $60. The button folds, and the small blind elects to make the call. We go to a turn card, which pairs the board with another 7. And the small blind elects to lead for $80, which is a relatively small bet relative to the pot. I believe the pot is around $350. He bets 80. And for $80, pocket fives, I know I could be drawing slim. He could have a 7 in his hand, possible over pair, or possibly just 2 over cards, which is what I'm hoping that he has in his hand. But for $80, I'm not going anywhere. I elect to make the call. The river card is a blank. It is a 2 of clubs. Doesn't change the board at all. And he leads out for 130. Once again, pot size is not that big of a bet relative to the pot size. It's probably 1/4 of the pot, 1/5 of the pot. I can get away here, but I'm still hopefully targeting 2 overcards. And he started to try and bluff on the turn, hoping to take down with another second shot on the river, or he could possibly have a 7, or even ace 8. But for 130, I figured I would go ahead and pay him off if he has it. I go ahead and make the call. He shows us the goods for the pocket 9s, and he takes that one from us. Okay, so the next hand we're looking at here, I am on the button, and the under the gun +1 player raises it up to $20. The middle position makes the call, and the cutoff decides that $20 isn't enough, and he bumps it to $40. I'm sorry, he bumps it to $70. So now it's back to me on the button. I look down at ace jack offsuit. I do have about 160, 170 total, and at this spot in this position, there's only two things I can do. It's either all in or a fold. So I sit there and I'm thinking, what could be going on here? Sue Johnson has been playing relatively tight, except for the one hand that I know of for sure, where he had the 10 of club and he raised it up to $200. When he was actually losing to two people at the moment, which was me and the original raiser. So I'm thinking, is he squeezing? He could be squeezing. I'm just not sure. So I ponder about it for a minute, trying to think of different things that could be going on here. I know I can't just make a flat call here. I have to all in or fold. It's one or the other. I'm contemplating on what I should do, and eventually I talk myself into a all in. And as you all can see on the graphics, not such a great play. I really did think about folding, but I just decided he could be squeezing. He could have a worse ace than me. He could have two unders, pocket nines, pocket eights. I'm not sure. Pocket tens, king queen suited, queen jack suited, jack 10 suited. Less likely for him to have a jack because I have one, but it's still all possible combinations. So I do elect to go all in. It folds back, and he makes the call. I look at him. I know once he makes the call, I'm in terrible shape. I ask him once or twice, what does he want to do? Does he want to run it once or twice? He looks at me. He says, to be honest, I just want to run it once, if that's okay with you. I tell him, no problem. It's your choice. Once is good. We go to a run out. 8-6-5, rainbow, the 2 of club, bringing in the backdoor flush draw, and then 4. Not completing any flush draws. It's 4 to the straight. Terribly low board. Terrible for my hand. He shows us pocket kings, and we get stacked. Next hand we're looking at here, we are in the under the gun +1 position. There is a under the gun straddle for $6. We look down at king jack suited with a very small stack. After a rebuy, we took a few small losses, nothing big, but accumulatively ended us back at $55. Decided that we would either give this stack away or get the money back before deciding if we should rebuy. So starting this hand off with about $55 in the under the gun +1, we do elect just to call the straddle for $6. And the hijack says, $6? What's that? He bumps it up to $15 to go. And with it being such a small raise, not too surprising that he gets a call from the cutoff position. The small blind, the big blind, and the original straddler all call for 15. Is back on me. Like I said, sitting with a stack of $55 to start the handoff. Nothing else for me to do here, but call the buffet in, all you can eat. I go ahead and shove the 55 in the middle, and of course, didn't expect anything different. Everyone that called the 15 calls the 55, so we are going to a flop. Flop comes queen 8-7, rainbow board, and it checks all the way around. We go to a turn, which comes the 9 of spade. It also checks around again, Now the 9 of spade does bring in the backdoor flush for the spades, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Seeing that we whiffed on everything else on the board, I'm hoping for a spade, and boom, 6 of spade right on the river, giving us the second nut flush to the spades, and couldn't be any more excited at this point. Not even worried about the ace of spade, honestly. Couldn't be any more excited in this spot. And the river, the big blind checks. Under the gun straddler bets $40. Hijack calls. And the under the gun straddler shows the 10 for the high end of the straight. And I show my spades. We go ahead and we scoop that. And the hijack has the low end of the straight. All right, so the next and final hand that we will be going over in this video, I was in the hijack position. There was a $6 button straddle. The small blind folded. The big blind made the call. Under the gun made the call. Low jack made the call. Hijack made the call. It got over to me in the cutoff position. I looked down at pocket fours. So I elect to go ahead and try and set mine here, and I make the call. And the button just checks his option. So we are going 6 ways to a flop. A flop of 9 of diamond, 4 of diamond, 2 of heart. Yes, I did say the 4 of diamond. We do have middle set on the current board that we are on. So with that being said, the big blind checks, under the gun checks, middle position checks, and the low jack decides to bet $15 into a $43 pot. That is 6 ways. What is he doing here? We're not sure, but the hijack folds. When it gets to me, I'm thinking he could be on a draw. He could have top pair, 9. Very seldomly he could have pocket 9s here. I don't think he would possibly lead out right here with pocket 9s. It is a pretty draw heavy board, but I just decide I think we are in great shape here, but if I raise here, I think I will fold out hands that I am better than that would possibly make this call. So I just elect to make the call here, and the button makes the call. The big blind folds, and it gets back to the middle position who checked, and he decided to check raise on me. Oh man, wouldn't you know? I about jumped out of my seat in excitement. I was like, okay, I think he has a decent hand, but don't think it's more decent than mine. So when he makes it $100, the low jack also elects to make the call. So now I am deciding, well, I'm not really deciding. Don't even Hollywood. I immediately shove in the 192 on a 4-bet, all in, and the button folds. The middle position thinks about it for a while. He elects to make the call, and the low jack elects to make the call. Now, I did forget to tell y'all, when I did make the button call, the button straddle, when I called the button straddle, I looked at the dealer and I said, one time. I'm gonna play it in the video. I told her one time, and we actually got it through. So turn comes queen of club, pretty clear card. It checks through, and the river comes a king of spade. Don't feel like I am behind much here unless someone happens to have jack 10 suited maybe, or pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket 9s. But I feel pretty great about my hand. So once it checks through, I go ahead and turn over my pocket 4s. So we go ahead and scoop that one. So that was the last hand that we would be playing on the stream. We went from doubling up to getting stacked to running it back up, in for 320, out for 685. Not a bad day, especially after getting stacked. We had to fight back, but we managed to come out on top. Like I said, in for 320, out for 685, for a profit of 365. Not a bad day. Not a bad day.